So in my last video, you saw that I finally got myself stuck so bad I had to call for help. And the machine got water and mud in a lot of places that were not designed to get water and mud. I got it out. Now, while I was in the mud struggling, the machine was running hotter than normal, and I kept turning it off. And then when I finally got it out, this is my normal dashboard screen. And then I got this error message, which is kind of a generic error message. And then I got this error message, which implies there's not enough air going into the air filter, and I didn't know what that was. And then I got a high heat alarm, and I turned the machine off. So at first I thought the high heat was because the radiator was plugged with mud and sticks and leaves, and it was. So I cleaned it, but that didn't help. And then, I'm not much of a mechanic, but the radiator was not hot, but the engine was hot. So obviously the thermostat stuck. Now, I couldn't make the correlation between being in mud and having a stuck thermostat, except that maybe I got it hot and the thermostat stuck. So I got a new thermostat, put it in there, went to fill it with water, and I couldn't fill it because water was pouring out of the radiator faster than I could put water in. And then I realized the reason it was overheating is because I had put a hole in the radiator and all the fluid leaked out. All right, boys and girls, look what I got. I have a hole, well, I have several holes in my radiator. This is for a Hitachi 30U. New ones are $800, and this thing is tiny. If I had a Hitachi 240 or 260, a big one, the radiator would be like $300. But for this little tiny one, it is $800 plus tax, which here with a 10% tax makes it almost $900. I brought it to a radiator shop guy. He says he can't fix it, but I'm going to try to fix it because I have nothing to lose. So I don't know whether I'm going to try to solder the aluminum or use epoxy, but I have at least, this one's absolutely leaking right here, and this one's absolutely leaking, and this one's absolutely leaking, and this one I'm not sure. So first of all, I'm gonna kind of straighten all this up and then figure out a way to put pressure on it so I can see what is leaking and what's not leaking. No, I didn't film taking out the radiator because I was really irritated with myself, and I was in no mood to mess with a camera. So if you're watching this video to learn how to take it out, just watch the video backwards, because at the end I showed putting it back in and the steps are just reversed. So this is an acidic cleaner for grills. This is exactly what it's for. I was just trying to get the years of what would you call it, the corrosion on the aluminum fins. I wanted it real clean so my epoxy patches would stick. So the bars that run parallel with the wood on my tabletop are hollow, and they carry the coolant, which is antifreeze and water mixed up together. All the other little fins are for heat dissipation, and they kind of zigzag between the bars, and they are so thin. The metal that they're made out of is not much thicker than aluminum foil that you buy at the grocery store. I was able to just take my wood chisel and pare away the fins at the area where the little hollow rods were cracked. I straightened the rods with pliers. So after I scraped off the little coolant fins, I took the Dremel tool and kind of ground the little areas down to make them smoother, to make sure that the epoxy was able to get everywhere, and I wanted all the crud off. And then I took some sheet aluminum, it's really thin, sanded it to get the oxidation off. Cut little squares and bent them over a nail to make like a little horseshoe looking, paper clip looking thing, and shaped them to fit over where I knew the holes were. And then I again washed the radiator, this time with MEK to remove any oils, like mostly from my fingers. And then I mixed some epoxy, which is for high heat areas, and put epoxy over the crack in the fin, and then in the middle of my little horseshoe thing, and shoved them on there and gave them a little squeeze with the pliers and crossed my fingers. And the next day we put some pressure on it to see what was happening. Now the next day I had more holes, so I had to do a few more of these things. But the day after that, it held pressure. Now this is kind of Yankee. I know I'm losing a lot of coolant because a lot of the no longer function and a lot of the fins are gone. But I'm kind of playing with my head here, and the tractor always ran cool. Even the hottest day of the summer, if I worked it hard all day long, it would only get up to the second bar of the 6 possible heat bars. So I think I'd be okay losing some efficiency of the radiator. Now, I don't exactly know what caused this damage, but I'm assuming that when the back end of the machine went underwater that a stick floated in past all the guards that are there to keep sticks from floating in, and yeah, did some havoc, messed up some stuff.
Okay, it's a new day. So yesterday I put the little patches on 3 of these, I don't even know what you call them, but they have antifreeze in them, or will. And the epoxy's cured. And I put a rubber hose and a cap, and a rubber hose and a cap on the 2 intake and discharge of the radiator fluid. And I put a little hose and a Schrader valve. This had a rubber deal on the end, and just carved it off with a knife so I can put pressure. The cap said, or says 0.9, it's upside down. I'm assuming that's bar, which is where most of the world measures pressure in bars instead of PSI, but it equates to about 13 something, so just under 14 PSI. So in the event that it doesn't leak, which I'm not 100% sure, I'll pump it up to about 30, and we'll see what we got. Okay, so I filled it up, I put some pressure on it. Everything went kind of crazy because the water came out of here, which means I had more pressure than the cap wanted to hold back. And I had one little squirt, but I can't tell it was from here or here. So I'm gonna do both of these, clean them up, put some epoxy on them, and leave it for the rest of the day. Okay, 2 more patches. Just have sanded aluminum, folded over the leaking rib. I put the Dremel tool on both sides. I kind of cleaned it up, and then I washed it with MEK, make sure it didn't have any grease on it, and put the high heat JB weld on the rib and in the patch, and shoved it down on there and squeezed it with the pliers. And now I'm done for the day. We'll just have to wait and see what happens to this. Maybe this afternoon it might cure, but probably not.
So at this point, the radiator held pressure up to what the cap would hold. I never figured out how to increase the pressure under the cap. The cap always let loose at 14 PSI. But I was having mixed feelings about this patch job, and I decided to go ahead and bite the bullet and order a new radiator, or at least a new Chinese knockoff radiator. And apparently, yeah, you get what you pay for. I got this for $800, which is like way less than if I would have went to the dealer and bought one, which I may end up doing in the long run. But I got a radiator, and it's not the same as the one in the machine. So just got a UPS delivery, big cardboard box with a wooden box inside it. Man, this is pretty interesting. How do we get a screwdriver and unfold these little tabs? Man, I hope it's the right radiator. Hope it's the right radiator. Well, I'm trying to do this with one hand, and it ain't doing. Okay, gotta put the phone down. Well, it's close. It's not the same radiator. It's not as thick by about less than a quarter, maybe a quarter. Probably okay with that. This radiator never let the engine get hot until I broke it. Even working it as hard as I could on the hottest summer day, the engine would always be on 2 bars of temperature, and it would go up to 6. So this is probably extra. This one's a little smaller. This is a smaller diameter than that, so that's going to be a problem to get my hoses to fit back. And this is a drain that went to a little spigot under the machine with a hose. And this one is on the other side, so probably my hose is going to be short. Now this one has a built-in drain, but I don't even know if you can get to that once it's in the machine. So I need to, I don't know, darn it. I need to put something on here to bring it up to this size so I can use my hoses, because of course they're not straight. Now these are the rubber mounts. They should pop off and pop on these little studs. I don't know, man. A little disappointing. Well, you see everything's kind of wet here. Water everywhere. I decided not to keep this radiator, and I forgot I had it under test pressure, which was just like 13.5 pounds. But I loosened the clamp holding a little plug, and the plug shot out like a wine cork. Anyway, no harm, no foul. Okay, so we got a new plan. I'm not happy with the Chinese radiator. It's going to be too many non-correct things, and the drain itself, that little drain at the bottom, conflicts with the structure, so I would have to drill a hole in the frame. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put the patched radiator back in, even though changing these radiators is a big deal. And I'm going to order a factory radiator, and when it comes, I'll swap it back and put the factory radiator back in the machine, so we'll be good as new as far as radiators go. All right, we're starting the thermostat replacement project. Need to tilt the cab forward, and to do that I need the boom to be out frontwards. But before I do that, I want to raise the tracks a little bit, because I got to get under it to take a panel off to drain some antifreeze out of the radiator. So I'm gonna lift up one side. I cut these four little logs and put two on. We'll slide two under the tracks and then swing around to the other side. That'll just give me a little bit more room when I get under it. When I drop that panel, it's going to be 3 inches of mud on top of it. It's not going to be pleasant. So with a 19 millimeter socket, I took out the 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These hold the tub down, and you know that's a lot of bolts just for a hood, right? Because it's basically the hood of a car. But it also is the ropes, the rollover protection. So in order for this to be strong, this needs to be attached to the frame pretty well. So that's what those 5 bolts are. You don't take off these 2, because this just attaches the roll bar to the tub. So if you pull on it, it'll just separate. So I need to figure out a way to grab a hold of it with a cable come along and tilt it, and I need to figure out a way to keep it from tilting too far. So they have holes up there, so I did a rope. I did a triple rope. I got it on I have a nice nylon strap in the buggy over there, but I don't have shackles to fit those holes. So I did the triple rope, did the cable come along to this little spot, and I pulled on it twice, and it already started moving. So I don't know if there's a keeper to keep it from, I don't know if there's a keeper to keep it from falling over or not. I don't know. Okay, because I didn't know whether it would fall over frontwards, I put the rope over the top and through that little eye and under the machine, and I wrapped it around this little part. So as I cranked up on the cable come along, I let out on a little rope to make sure that I could control it if it wanted to tilt forward. But now that I've got it up, it's like they have a safety strap and they have some sort of stand. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up a little bit more. I got it high enough where the strut is in position, and I'm gonna crank back down a little bit so it'll get locked in here. So I don't have to worry. I was thinking I was gonna have to cut logs or something, but that won't be necessary. So the hood is up and engine access is not great, but not terrible. So now we have the new radiator. I left it at home. I'm gonna put the old one back in. I'm not happy with it. It's a little smaller and a little lighter. I'm gonna go ahead and fork up the money and get one from the factory. That'll be correct. But anyway, so we got to put the radiator in. I just finished cleaning the mud out of the fan. That's probably not supposed to be there. And I want to put 2 hoses on it before I put it in place because it's really, really tight. So let's do that. Okay, bottom radiator hose is back on. David was smart enough to have me take a picture of the orientation before I took this thing out, so I know which way it goes because it's very hard to get to that bottom clamp. And this is a drain hose. It goes to a little petcock under the machine where you can drain the radiator, but unfortunately we have the machine parked where the petcock is right over the track, so we can't really get to it. So we just cut this hose. I've got some material to splice it with, so it should be okay. So we're going to set the radiator back in. And this is kind of the sketchy part. The radiator fits in this slot here, and it goes next to the oil cooler, the hydraulic oil cooler. It has to get behind these things, and behind this we have to slide this thing. So you really got to pull this oil cooler out pretty darn far to make it fit. Now it is connected with hoses, but it's still pretty stiff. So let me see if I can get the camera over here. Okay, this brace holds the 2 together, but unfortunately you can't slide it in after the fact because these little things hit the frame. You got to put it in first or during. So it goes right there. Everything's coated with rubber foam. And you got to pull this way out. I know this is going to be hard to do by myself. I had David helping me last time. Okay. So this is like week 4 or 5 of the Traco being stuck back here in the woods, and the weather has been delightful. There's been no bugs, and I've been very, very lucky, because if this would have been the middle of the summer, it would have been brutal back here. Okay, we got past 1. Now, so as I'm looking at the radiator, on the left side there is an angle iron that captures it, so you know you got to slide it in there. If the good folks at Hitachi would have just made that angle iron bolt on, this would be so easy, but it's apparently welded. I even at one point I was thinking about removing the counterweight. I thought that's what we had to do before I found out I had to unbolt the oil cooler. The counterweight is on some really long bolts. They stick past the where they go in about 1 inch, so I was just able to loosen them up and wiggle the counterweight back, thinking that angle would come with the counterweight, but it does not. It's apparently welded to the frame. Everything could have been easier, but it's not. And then at some point I went to the local John Deere construction equipment dealer. Hitachi and John Deere is basically the same machine. And the shop foreman was very kind. He copied some sheets of instructions from his manuals, and it stated that I just needed to remove the oil cooler. Well, I was able to remove the 4 bolts, or David helped me, that held the oil cooler to the chassis. But there's also 2 hoses that you know, the intake and the extake for the hydraulic oil. They're pretty challenging to get to, and the machine is very, very dirty, and I didn't think there was any way that I could have removed and reinstalled those hoses without getting a bunch of dirt in the system, which I didn't want to do. So the hoses are still on the oil cooler. There is some flex, not much. So it's a strength game. You got to pull the radiator and the oil cooler and get that piece of steel between them and wiggle everything. Everything's on rubber, which makes everything always feel like it doesn't really fit, but it kind of fits. But yeah, I got it back in, and I'm gonna have to do this all over again when I get the new radiator, or I may just keep it on a shelf till this one fails. It may never fail. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future. Can't predict the future. Okay, the radiator is in. Now I've got to get the bolts that hold this thing in. Oh, that one's going to be easy. It's just right there. The top one Hope it's not too bad if I don't drop the bolt back there. Okay, turn you off. Okay, these two bolts, the one back here that goes into a welded nut, and the one under here that goes to a welded nut, just took 40 minutes. Because this thing is all on foam and nothing wants to be in the right spot. And to pry on it, you can pry on it and get it straight, but you can't get your hand in there. Or you can get your hand in there and it's not straight. It was testing my patience, but I got the radiator's now bolted in the right spot, and I put my little splice. This is on the drain line. The drain valve is right up under here. So yeah, we're doing good right now. I can put the bottom radiator hose on, and then all the plastic stuff that goes on the inside, the fan guard and all that stuff. So the fan shroud has a foam gasket on the far side that just was a pain in the rear to get the thing in the little slot, but I got it. And it has 6 bolts, and I found 6 bolts that match, but 2 of them are shorter. So no, 4 of them are shorter. 4 shorts and 2 longs. I don't know. I would think the short ones might want to go over here so they don't screw into the oil cooler on accident. Are these in fact the right size? Yes. Okay. Got one in. Come on, man. Because the foam has got so full of mud, it doesn't want to compress like it should. And it makes it really hard to get everything lined up. Got this one. Okay, that one went in. So there were only 4 bolts, so that made it easy. The 4 matching lengths go here, the 2 shorter ones must go somewhere else. What confused me is the instructions I had that I took this thing apart with said there were 6 bolts, but there's not. So there's variations between the model years, I guess. Anyway, now we're going to put that plastic shroud fan cover thing that failed me because a stick got by it, but I'm going to put that on. Okay. There's 2 of these little plastic fan guards, and they're identical. And obviously the purpose is to keep people's hands out of the fan, because they only do the back half of the fan. So like when you have the engine hatch open back on the counterweight, that's where you could possibly stick your hand into a running engine. So they just do half. They were kind of persnickety to get them straight and get them lined up, but they're back in now, and the bolts are tight. On the inside hole of this one. Come on. Come on. Come on. It started. Okay, got it started. Got that one started. And I need to go get the bottom half. Okay, so the radiator is secured in place. The guards are secured in place. The upper and lower radiator hose are installed. The little overflow thing is installed, and the drain hose at the bottom is installed. This kind of threw me when I was trying to troubleshoot. It's full, but the radiator was empty. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and fill the radiator, because if there's a leak, I want to know as soon as possible. Well, I'm not going to fill it. I left the antifreeze in my truck, so I'll go get it at lunchtime. I can put the air filter back in and the bracket that holds it. And this, yeah, we got lots to do. I just was wanting to put fluid in it.
Almost there.
What are you doing?
I'm cutting down this dead tree.
We have 3 chainsaws on the property.
I know, but you weren't here.
Oh, I see.
And I was.
All right. Okay, back from lunch. I filled it with antifreeze and water. This little bracket goes here. No. How's it go? Oh, it goes here. These 2 holes, and it holds the fuel filter. So that can go on. I don't even know if that had to, yeah, that had to come off. And then this is the top. So this is the top. This fill is really hard to get to when you put the top part on, so I'm gonna leave it off for a while. You know, yeah, just put on these things real quick. Okay, so the fuel, probably I need to tighten those. The fuel filter is back on, tightened up. A little cap for the radiator, it holds it. And then got the 2 rubber plugs, so the radiator actually has like engine mounts, which is kind of cool. And this is the air box. It really, I don't know what it does. It may be for noise. It's just open on the end. It goes onto these 2 bolts. And I got this plate down here, and I can't remember where it goes, but I guess, I don't know. But I'm getting close to being able to close the top and trying to start the thing. Okay, I figured it out. This goes here. I'm not sure exactly what it does, except that it makes it hard to get the radiator cap off. That's where it goes. It's all foamed up. Maybe it's, I don't know what it's for, but we'll put it back. Little lightweight sheet metal, big heavy bolts. Sometimes it doesn't make any difference. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense as to what size bolts they use. 2 more bolts that I forgot about that hold the oil cooler. There's one right here that's not terrible. There's one down at the bottom that is terrible to get to. It's so tight. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, the nut is just hanging there because there's not enough room to get the bolt out. I mean, the bolt is hanging there. So anyway, hopefully these holes will line up without a whole lot of fight. Luckily, the bolt started without a fight. Tightening it up here, socket won't fit. When I go to replace the radiator again with a new one, which I probably will do, I'm going to get an extra 13 millimeter wrench and cut it in half. I think it'll make it much easier. Okay, and this is the easy one of the 2. So the reason I'm going to the trouble to put this repaired radiator in here is because I'm in the woods. I need to get it out of the woods by the road where I can hose out the mud and do further checks. And if I have to put it on my trailer or put it on a trailer and get it home. So right now I'm sitting on the engine trying to get to the back of that bottom bolt that holds the oil cooler in place. Oh my God, it started. It's finger tight. Jeez. Super duper. Now I gotta get the wrench in there and tighten it. Not very comfortable, but I got it. It's in and it's tight, both of these. So there's 4 bolts on the oil cooler. The 2 that I couldn't get the holes to line up with, and these 2 on this side. So this bracket goes under here. And this is what holds up the air box. It shouldn't be hard. I can't see the hole. There's the hole. Tell you what, my shaky hands are a big asset in doing mechanic work, I tell you. Helps me center up the bolts better. Filter box go. Oh, I better put that little hose in there first. That thing's pretty tight. Uh-oh, lost the clamp. Hold on, turn you off. Tighten up the bolts. I did. I can't find a hose clamp, but I have some other ones. So I'm short one. Well, I'm not short one. I'm just going to have to use a hose clamp that didn't come with it. And I've had a rag stuck in the intake the whole time, so keep the critters out. Now, one of my air alarms was that restricted air has restricted air, and I don't see any sign of water getting in here, although it might have just got a little bit. I don't know. I got a new air filter, and I've all the hoses are clear. There's nothing to them. It's just big 2.5-inch hoses. So, got a brand new air filter. It goes in there like so. And yeah, I put it on the seat to make sure that no way I would start it up without the air filter on. Okay, that's that. So earlier in this journey, when I was contemplating removing the counterweight, I was going to chain it to a tree and let it swing backwards. I took off this little cover because I didn't want to get it damaged. Turned out for nothing. I never did remove the counterweight, although I loosened it and pulled it back an inch or two. So got to put this back on. Okay, so the fuel, probably I need to tighten those. The fuel filter is back on, tightened up. A little cap for the radiator, it holds it, and then got the two rubber plugs, so the radiator actually has like engine mounts, which is kind of cool. And this is the air box. It really, I don't know what it does. It may be for noise. It's just open on the end. It goes onto these two bolts. I got this plate down here, and I can't remember where it goes, but I guess, I don't know. But I'm getting close to being able to close the top and trying to start the thing. Okay, I figured it out. This goes here. I'm not sure exactly what it does, except that it makes it hard to get the radiator cap off. That's where it goes. It's all foamed up. Maybe it's I don't know what it's for, but we'll put it back. Okay, so the next thing is going to be this piece of sheet metal. I got it tied up with a rope. It would have been nice if I could have got it all the way out, but I couldn't get it out. So I just pull it up out of the way. And most of the bolts aren't going to be too bad. But there's one in the front at the bottom that's going to be a bear. But so these two are cake, no problem. We'll get those in. Okay, the bolt up front and the sheet metal I could not get. Maybe when I close it I can get to it better. And I have two small bolts left, and I don't know where they go. I know there's a lot of sheet metal still not on, and I'll take the big bolts. Anyway, I'm ready to start it. I'm going to put the cabin down. I don't think it'll start in that raised position. I think there's a safety switch. Put it down. I almost forgot the 5 big bolts that hold the rollover protection down. Well, it also holds the hood down. But there's 3 on this side and 2 on this side, 19 millimeter. We're ready to start. I think everything's ready to go. So I'm getting the air that there's a restriction in the airflow. Oh, it's a sad day. Radiator's holding and it's cooling. It jumped up to the second bar a lot faster than it used to before all the damage, but it held at the second bar for, I guess I ran it for 30 or 40 minutes. I finally put the culvert in that ditch. But there's something wrong with the engine. It's blowing air backwards through the intake, and it sounds like it's missing. So I don't know what I did. I did something. So we're gonna have to get a trailer and get this thing to my shop. And yeah, I don't want to do any more damage. And open that little engine up. Thankfully, it's a little bitty engine, but yep, there's something wrong in there. Sad day. So anyway, more YouTube material, but I prefer to get it differently than this. So the machine is running. I walked it out of the woods to where I have my pump set up so I can pump water from the ditch to hose the thing off and get rid of some mud. So now that I got it close enough to the generator, I can start working on some of this excess mud that should not be here. Woo, like 4 inches thick. So this is what it's supposed to look like, and I think this is where the air is supposed to come to cool the radiator, which it wasn't doing. Let's get on this little part here and see what we can do. Okay, well, I'm not going to say it's spotless, but I bet I removed 200 pounds of mud from the tracks and the hydraulic compartment where all these hoses are. Man, it was just solid cake. We can now get air where it's supposed to get air. Now I can haul it down the highway without taking out somebody's windshield. When I wash it at the foundry, I don't have to scoop up 300 pounds of slop. So I'm gonna go park it. I'm not gonna run it anymore until we bring it to the foundry and I figure out what's wrong with the engine. It's got like a sort of a miss, and it's got blow-bys, blowing air back through the air filter. I don't know what I've done. Did something bad.